we'll start with this. Well, this is an update on a previous story we talked about here on the channel. You know, Firuza Sharipova, Kazakhstan's own Firuza Sharipova, was supposed to be fighting Russian amateur standout Sofia Ochagava in what would have been a rematch between the two. But the plans have since changed, and she's going to be facing Yulia Chernoborodova.
Come again?
Let's just call her Julia Chernobyl. And Julia Chernobyl has a professional record of 0-1. Means she's only had one professional fight, and that one fight is a fight that she lost. A so obvious last-minute stand-in opponent. The contest is being billed as a super lightweight contest. That's 140 pounds.
That's right.
Whereas Firuza Sharipova normally campaigns somewhere between, 135 and 130. This fight is being billed as a 140-pound contest.
Okay.
Begs the question, when did the Firuza Sharipova people realize that Sofia Ochagava wasn't going to be fighting for whatever reason? Because we still don't know. I've heard some rumors, some rumblings about investors pulling out, thus making the Ochagava fight not a possibility. And Firuza Sharipova is no stranger to that. We've talked about here on the channel
several times
throughout her career, investors pulling out on her, the financiers of what would have been her events,
would have
been her fights,
could have been, should have been.
I mean, that's why the Eva Wahlstrom fight fell through. Originally, before Terry Harper got her hands on Eva, and before Michaela Mayer even entered into negotiations with the then reigning WBC super featherweight champion Eva Wahlstrom, Firuza Sharipova was supposed to fight her. And the reason the fight didn't happen is because investors pulled out.
2018.
And that's happened several times in several spots in the career of Firuza Sharipova. I don't know if that's what's happening here. That's my lucky dog guess. Then again, Firuza is fighting tomorrow, whereas Sofia Ochagava is not. It's Sofia that won't be participating in
tomorrow's card.
And what the exact reason for that is here today is a mystery to me.
It is.
The fight being billed as a super lightweight contest as opposed to lightweight or super featherweight, it kind of leaves me scratching my head. Did Firuza Sharipova make any attempt at all to make 130 or to make 135 pounds?
Was that the plan?
If this is being billed as a 140-pound contest. I mean, when exactly did the Sharipova people catch wind that Sofia Ochagava would not be fighting? I naturally assumed that the fight between Sofia Ochagava and Firuza Sharipova, I naturally assumed that was going to be either a super featherweight contest or a lightweight contest, not a 140-pound contest. I can tell you neither one of those two girls have the frame to compete at 140 pounds against the best and brightest fighters at those weights. Leaves me wondering, when exactly did the Sharipova people realize that Sofia wasn't going to be fighting, and did they bother to make 130 or 135 pounds at all? Because it doesn't look like it.
Maybe the reason for that is because they knew Sofia wouldn't be fighting.
Really don't know. And I don't know how much time and attention still goes into Firuza Sharipova's boxing career, because in the days leading up to this card, Firuza was competing on what appears to be some kind of Dancing with the Stars, some version of Dancing with the Stars over there in Kazakhstan in the weeks and days leading up to this card, in the weeks and days leading up to this fight, what was supposed to be the Ochagava fight. And I talked about how, that doesn't look all that encouraging when you're taking on an amateur standout like Sofia Ochagava, an amateur standout that beat you before and could beat you again if you don't keep your eyes on the ball.
Call me crazy, but competing on Dancing with the Stars ain't keeping your eyes on the ball.
Maybe it is, but it's the wrong ball. Maybe Firuza's got her eyes on the disco ball instead of the proverbial ball in the boxing match.
I didn't like Firuza's chances in that rematch.
I didn't like Firuza Sharipova's chances to avenge the loss from her first meeting with Sofia Ochagava, given how she's been spending her time. Perhaps that's the silver lining here with the cancellation of Sharipova versus Ochagava 2. Perhaps that's the silver lining that she's fighting a stand-in opponent with a professional record of 0-1. I was convinced that Sofia's going to beat her again. That's how it's looking. Firuza Sharipova has gone, last couple of years, she's gone from a very polished young upstart that could take the world of women's boxing by storm to what is a little more than just a debutante. And I'm not faulting her for it. I'm not castigating her. It just looks a lot like given all the difficulties and snafus that she's experienced in her professional boxing career, that may have caused Firouzja to focus on other things because her boxing career just isn't going as good as it
Could be.
should be going or could be going. So in that situation, you work with what you've got. And if you can make money being on, Dancing with the Stars and being a sponsor for OB and all these other products, just all these other endeavors that Firouzja is endeavoring in. If she can make her money that way, that's likely what she's doing because her boxing career isn't going the way that it should be. I still think she has it within her to be one of the top talents in the sport, but that's just not where we are right now. Now, I don't know that I can blame her for it, or if she's just a victim of circumstance.
She's fighting a girl with a record of 0-1.
Where she herself has a professional record of 12-1, her only loss coming at the hands of amateur standout Sofia Ochigava. I think it would be a great pity if Firouzja never gets to compete at her full potential in the sport of women's boxing, though there's a lot of heartbreaking stories in the sport, men's boxing and women's boxing. I mean, at least she's making money, right? I guess that's the silver lining.
This is a video to Eddie Hearn and all his supporters of AJ. We're not bothered about Anthony Joshua, one iota. And here's what you can do. If he wants a fight in June, get it ready for June, Eddie. We'll take him as a warm-up fight in. We value Anthony Joshua that much, we'll take him as a warm-up fight in June. So get your arse in gear, get everything needs doing done, and we'll take him in June. We'll have the first fight with him. Because Tyson is fighting twice this year, but we'd like AJ to be the first one on the butcher's block. So get your arse in gear, mate. Wave your magic wand and let's get this fight started. Because nobody's bothered about you or AJ in any way, shape or form. AJ up first, chopping block June. And if you can't put up, shut up.
It's strange hearing Big John Fury tell Eddie Hearn to put up or shut up when Eddie Hearn's not doing most of the talking here. It's actually the Fury side of things. John Fury, Tyson Fury, doing most of the talking.
It is.
Better still, I take this recent set of comments from Big John Fury as an encouraging sign, because it is a slightly different tune than
Before.
what we've been hearing from the Fury side of things. The Fury side of things have been saying that they're ready to move on, that they're going to fight 2 times this year with or without Anthony Joshua, whereas now what Big John Fury is doing is urging Eddie Hearn to get the deal done, rather get the site deal done. Secure the venue, secure the fight date, because they want to fight Anthony Joshua fights. They want Anthony Joshua to beat Tyson Fury's tune-up fight this year. That's what Big John Fury is saying in so many words. That is a different tune than the tune we've been hearing. You just have to pay attention to the notes.
That's not all, folks.
What I think is an even more encouraging omen, per tweet from Michael Benson, Eddie Hearn has confirmed Anthony Joshua has now officially started training camp for Tyson Fury in July.
That actually is a bit more encouraging.
You don't officially start camp to fight a guy you don't plan on fighting. I mean, you don't do this. And given Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua's track record, which is nowhere near as
Shaky?
unstable, I should say, nowhere near as problematic as Tyson Fury's, given their track records, those guys mean business. When they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. They said a long time ago they were going to unify the heavyweight division. And throughout Anthony Joshua's meteoric rise to the highest levels of heavyweight professional boxing, that's what he's done.
So when Eddie Hearn says he started camp for Fury, I believe him.
I'm not trying to paint anyone out to be the bad guy here, but I followed both of these fighters' careers respectively, and there really is a lot more consistency from the Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua side of things as opposed to the Tyson Fury, Frank Warren, Bob Arum side of things. I mean, there really is. Look, a long time ago, Tyson Fury was supposed to give Vladimir Klitschko a rematch. And that never happened because Fury, as it were, was mentally unstable. Quote unquote, unstable. Emphasis on unstable. You're supposed to give that guy a rematch? That didn't happen. We fast forward to what was supposed to be the 3rd installment of Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. And I'm not faulting Tyson Fury for the contract expiring. I'm not faulting him for that. I'm just saying that that's another unstable situation that Tyson Fury was involved in. You fast forward from that, he's supposed to have a homecoming fight with a Geet Kabayel, and that doesn't happen. There is a characteristic instability associated with Tyson Fury and his side of things.
The Klitschko rematch that never happened.
Due to Tyson Fury's instability, mental instability, the postponement of the second Deontay Wilder fight, the postponement of that fight for Tyson Fury to go over to the top-ranked side of things and have 2 fights under that banner before ultimately having that second fight with Deontay Wilder. The contract for the third Wilder fight expiring. The cancellation of Tyson Fury, what was to be Tyson Fury's homecoming fight in the United Kingdom that he said he'd never fight in again. There is a characteristic instability with the way that Tyson Fury navigates his career, whereas with Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn, it's all business. Business as usual. These guys mean business, and when they say something...
Yeah, I believe them.
You tell me that Anthony Joshua has officially entered camp to square off with Tyson Fury in July, I can take it at face value based on Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn's track records. That in unison with the change of tune from Big John Fury. These are encouraging omens.
I have not more to add to it than that.
I know that fight fans are growing more and more impatient, waiting for an official announcement, an official fight date, an official venue. I understand all of that, but I also understand that this is a bigger fight than most any and every other fight out there, and it's not going to get done as soon as you want it to, but I think it will get done because there's too much money involved for it not to get done.
This is a business after all.
What are you going to do, huh? You going to walk away from this? You going to leave all this money on the table to run risks with Joe Blow in the most unpredictable division in the entire sport of boxing, the heavyweight division, where you could be winning every single round of a 12-round fight and one fucking punch lands and the fight's over? You really gonna do that? No, I don't fucking think so. I don't think you're gonna do that.
So just hold your fucking horses, all right?
In junior middleweight news, Erickson Lubin and former unified champion Jason Rosario agree to fight on Showtime, will televised on a date to be determined. Portion of the article reads, Showtime is expected to televise boxing at some point during the month of May. But it isn't clear that Showtime Championship Boxing telecast will be scheduled for May 15th, May 22nd, or May 29th. There is some instability associated with the story, though, as far as the proposed matchup. I like it, and I like it a lot. Here's why. Erickson Lubin is a crafty southpaw that shows some ability, though some vulnerability as well. I don't feel that Erickson Lubin takes the best punch. I don't. He's quite notably taken out only seconds into the first round of the fight with Jermell Charlo over a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. You know, very recently, he locked horns with Terrell Gausha. I didn't forget that Terrell Gausha frazzled Erickson Lubin with a shot. Erickson looked hurt by the shot, and Terrell Gausha really isn't the biggest puncher. Now, Jason Rosario, in spite of coming off a loss to Jermell, the same Jermell Charlo that took out Erickson Lubin in one round, Jason Rosario, he is a big puncher. He's a big, strong guy, big, strong kid.
Yeah, he's coming off a loss.
But he's coming off a loss to the same Jermell Charlo that took out Erickson Lubin in less than one round. If you want to be honest, if you want to be technical. That being said, I view this as an even matchup between the punching power and size of Jason Rosario and the boxing acumen of Erickson Lubin. Also, Erickson Lubin's vulnerability. I mean, look, neither one of these two guys is perfect, and that's what makes it an even contest. That's what makes it an intriguing matchup. That it's not a foregone conclusion that Jason wins, and it's not a foregone conclusion that Erickson wins either.
It's a good fight.
You know, Erickson's on a 5-fight winning streak since having been stopped by Jermell Charlo. And I have to say that in those 5 fights, I haven't been particularly impressed. I haven't been blown away with what I've been seeing from Erickson. Whereas Jason, for what it's worth, in his last outing,
The pressure that he applied on Jermell.
the pressure that he applied on Julian Williams before that, I have to say that in spite of Jason being the one coming off a loss,
More impressed with him.
I'm more taken with his last 2 performances than I am with any of Erickson Lubin's last 5 performances. Can he stay out of the way of all the big shots that Jason Rosario plans on throwing? Because rest assured, Jason Rosario packs some heavy leather.
It's a big, strong kid.
Nothing about Erickson Lubin's last 5 fights have blown my socks off. The guy's decent fighter, solid, shows ability, but there's no wow factor there.
Not really.
Didn't see anything to write home about the last 5 fights. That creates all the ingredients, creates the environment for what could be a very titillating matchup. I mean, I haven't made my prediction just yet, but I have to say that here today, I like the fight.
I'm looking forward to it.
Some more encouraging news from the lightweight division. It appears that both Ryan Garcia and Javier Fortuna have agreed to terms to lock horns with each other in July. And I told you guys before, I like this fight. And I know that it's not Manny Pacquiao. I know that it's not Gervonta Davis.
But it's still a good fight.
And I won't let Ryan Garcia's hyperbole, his big talk, ruin it for me. Javier Fortuna has all the ingredients to make this a rough and tumble physical fight for Ryan Garcia in all the ways that Luke Campbell could not. That's not a knock on Luke. It's just that Luke really is more of a technician than Javier is. What Javier is a tornado, you know. He's a physical guy, rough and tumble guy who's going to crowd you, guy who's going to rush you, bull rush you.
Not saying Luke Campbell was a walk in the park for Ryan.
He scored a knockdown in the fight, so he clearly wasn't a walk in the park for young Ryan Garcia, but styles do make fights after all, and Luke is a more technical fighter than Javier is. I'd also wager that Javier's a little bit more durable, punches a little harder too. I'd wager that much. I think this is a good step up for Ryan Garcia from Luke Campbell, and I think that Javier will make it that much harder for young Ryan Garcia to land those photo finish punches of his, those photo finish hooks, because Javier's going to crowd him.
Play him close to the chest.
Unless I'm mistaken, Javier Fortuna will be the slightly smaller fighter in the fight with the lower center of gravity that will afford him the opportunity to get under and around those sweeping hooks from young Ryan Garcia.
He's got to keep Javier in front of him.
Distance control of the range at which the fight is being fought is going to be pivotal. It's going to play a big role in how this fight looks, in the fight's overall aesthetic, because Javier Fortuna is going to want to make it a phone booth fight.
It's up to Ryan Garcia to stop him.